Here we are with 3 more crooks for the remaining 3 classes. If you missed the last one, basically a casual crook is someone who steals the fun from a casual game of TF2 by using some lame loadout. Not to be mistaken for a pub stomper who generally has many hours in the game. The casual crook does not have a tight grasp on the mechanics of TF2, but uses some busted loadout to make up for it. Last episode I covered 3 absolute stinkers, and this time will be no different. I've been given the opportunity to hate on the most cringe weapon in the game, and I just can't wait to do it, so let's just get right into it.
If you order now, I'll throw in a second beating, absolutely free.
So we're starting off with what many of you have deemed to be the Scout Casual Crook. Like I said in the past video, I couldn't come up with a crook for the Scout. Back in the day, it would have been easy, no problem. Just had the old soda popper and the guillotine Sandman combo, and we'd call it a day. But as the game got older, people got better at Scout, and Valve had to dial back what the class was capable of. Ultimately, I think the Scout is in a great place, and I think it would be hard to point out at any weapon in his arsenal and say it was broken. So that leaves us with the Bleed Fan Scout, which is what the brave souls in my YouTube comment section have suggested to me. I had never played with this loadout, so I kind of had to figure out why people would consider it broken while learning how to play with it. Let's start off with the Guillotine. Flying Guillotine is a meat cleaver that can be thrown at enemies. On hit, it's going to do 50 damage and it's going to cause your enemy to bleed for 40 damage over 8 seconds. If the Guillotine stays airborne for half a second before hitting the enemy, it's going to mini crit for 68 damage and it will do 54 bleed damage over 8 seconds. This will also cause the cleaver to recharge a second and a half faster. So if the cleaver is unaltered by a health pack or a dispenser, a medic, or for some reason a shield charge from the demo night, the cleaver could do either 90 or 122 max damage. And for Scout, who has a shotgun for his primary, being able to do that type of damage from a distance is an incredible option. But what if we doubled down on it?
Rap Assassin is OP, right? Is the Rap Assassin good?
The Rap Assassin is essentially the Sandman, but not a piece of shit. The ornament that you launch does 15 damage on hit, and a random amount of splash damage from the glass breaking, which is something around 4 damage, and it's going to do 40 damage from bleed over 8 seconds. So that's going to be a max of 59. Similar to the Guillotine, if the ornament is airborne for a whole second before hitting someone, it'll be a guaranteed crit. A crit with the ornament will bring the max damage up to 103. The ornament also recharges after 7.5 seconds after launching it. Finally, the downside, since you have such a powerful ranged option now, you gotta have to sacrifice the melee damage, which makes sense because, the Rap Assassin is just a tube of cardboard, so it really shouldn't be doing a whole lot of damage. It does 12 damage per swing. It does 37 on crit, which is less than a butter knife, but, who needs melee on Scout, really? Scout is made of paper mache, so it's like, why would you want to get in a melee fight with someone, especially when your primary is a shotgun? The Rap Assassin's been around for a while, but it really had a renaissance in the past 2 years. And that really is what Bleed Scout's all about, just launching 2 pretty fast projectiles at people and watching them bleed out. Now that leaves us with an absolute icon of TF2, the Force of Nature. My brain cannot comprehend how in the year of 2024, the Force of Nature cannot have war paints. This thing was added in February of 2009. That could be older than some of the people watching this video.
Why is the headless or horseless something head taker funny? And the Outlander.
Anyways, I always thought that the soda popper was an upgrade on the fan, and maybe it is. But the Force of Nature is just a fun weapon, dude. It lets Scout essentially have a triple jump, which lets you get to places that you couldn't before. This maneuverability plays a huge part in the playstyle of the Fan Scout. Just get in, fire off your shots, and get out. The fan only has 2 shots, but those 2 shots come out twice as fast as stock and do a little bit more damage than stock. This means in your hands you have the power to either absolutely annihilate an enemy or miss both shots and look like a complete fool. Since the fan spends a lot of time reloading, it's good to not hang around while you're loading your shots up. If you land your shots, the fan is going to send that motherfucker flying, which is often counterintuitive since you now have to chase after them to make sure you can kill them. There's also a chance that you send your enemy into a nearby wall or corner, which will line them up perfectly for another crunchy shot. The force of nature is capable of ending fights within a second, and that can be terrifying. And sometimes the planets even align, and you do every fan scout's wet dream and send your opponent into the abyss, securing an environmental kill. It's enough to bring a tear to my eye. So when you combine the bleed projectiles with the force of nature, sneaking up on your enemies can be absolutely lethal. Alright, I'm gonna try and wrap this one up nice and quickly because I feel like I've been yapping long enough about it. Is the bleed fan a casual crook? I really don't think that it is. It's certainly very annoying, but the projectiles are both make or miss, and bleed is so easily mitigated, it's pretty sad. The fan can do a ton of damage, but missing both shots is also something that will, shamefully, happen quite often. The knockback could be lethal, or it could even save your opponent's life. Regardless, it will always be silly. I will say, once a sentry enters the map, you're basically cooked. You're in the doghouse, there's not a damn thing you're gonna do about a sentry. Speaking about sentries, we gotta talk about another casual crook legend. You already know who.
Boy, this here is just gonna keep happening and happening.
One thing that I love about TF2 is that it's often a hit or miss type of game. Did you land your fan shots or did you choke? You goddamn choker. That's how most of the meta weapons work in this game too. Of course, I'm not talking about the automatic weapons, like the minigun or the flamethrower, or if you're using one of the needle guns, I guess. Why would you do that? The hit or miss aspect of this game makes landing those shots feel rewarding, but an underrated part is it also makes dodging those shots also satisfying. So maybe you can see where I'm going with this. The mini sentry pretty much takes a piss on that concept. There is no aim on the behalf of the engineer, nor are you offered the opportunity to dodge those shots. If you're within the range of a mini sentry, you're getting your ass gunned down. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. Now before you say Twister, are you telling me that engineers shouldn't be able to build sentry guns? What are you, stupid, Twister? I'm absolutely not saying that. An engineer may not require as much mechanical skills as someone like a scout, but an engineer absolutely requires you to use that little thing called a brain in your thick gamer skull. When you set up a sentry gun, you have to go through some form of reasoning as to why you're setting your gun up in a certain spot. Or you could just watch an Uncle Dan video, but regardless, you have to do some thinking. Once you do that, you need to spend time and resources to level up and maintain your gear. The gunslinger says, forget all that boring shit. I'm gonna throw this little gun down, and if it dies, I can put another one down, no problem. There is no great risk that you have to take for putting down a mini sentry. While the mini sentry, on the other hand, can put in some serious work. I'm talking about 45 damage per second, never missing, pure cold precision. You may not even know that you're walking near a mini sentry due to how tiny they are. Hell, a gunslinger could just build a mini sentry right behind you in a blink of an eye, and that mini sentry can eat your ass up. And since they're so easy to replace, there isn't a whole lot of thought that needs to be put into that kind of gameplay. All the while, our engineer friend is harboring a cursed power. The Frontier Justice and mini sentries are like peanut butter and jelly. Each kill with the sentry gun gives the Frontier Justice 2 crits, and each assist gives it 1. It's not too hard for a turret with auto aim to rack up some kills and assists. If a demo with a sticky jumper comes zipping by at Mach 10 speed, the mini sentry will fill him full of lead straight out of the sky. Maybe the sentry gun gets the kill itself, or maybe a flock of M1 pyros descends on the poor bastard. Either way, the engineer gets stronger because of it. Since the mini sentry gun is so replaceable, the engineer doesn't even have to think twice about destroying it himself, because even if you destroy it yourself, your Frontier Justice still gets bricked up on those revenge crits. A critical shot from the Frontier Justice can do up to 180 damage, which will kill every class besides Soldier and Heavy. That's a lot of damage. Now that Engineer has these stored, guaranteed critical hits, He can use that extra 25 health that the gunslinger gives Engineer to peek enemies with a surprise burst of damage, then retreat behind the comfort of his mini sentry to rack up even more stored crits. Since crits have no damage fall off, even if you're within mid-range, you're about to get spanked with some serious pepper from the Frontier Justice. The downside, of course, is that you only have 3 shots in the Frontier Justice. But I mean, come on, 3 shots is enough to defend yourself as an engineer. You don't need to be 6 shots deep in the front line. And when 3 of those shots could be guaranteed crits that can do a max of 180 damage with no damage fall off, I'm thinking 3 shots is enough. Alright, so where does this all leave us with the Gunslinger Engineer? The Gunslinger Engineer offers an alternative playstyle to Engie, and you know what? I value that. For a game this old, for a game so pathetically abandoned, we need weapons like the Gunslinger to keep this game fresh, to keep it unpredictable. Now the question is the Gunslinger a casual crook? I think that it is. The Gunslinger is just going to ask less of an engineer compared to an engineer using a different loadout like the Jag or the Eureka effect. And even though it asks less of you, you're still capable of putting out monumental damage. You're still capable of completely locking off points of the map from your mini sentry. Ultimately, the Gunslinger is just kind of an annoying item. And you know, it is what it is. But even the Gunslinger cannot hold a candle to how unbearably annoying, uncontrollably cringe this final loadout is.
The healing is not as rewarding as the hurting.
Up until now, all of these loadouts that I've covered have been on a scale of annoying to a little bit cringe. Sure, the No Mercy is cringe, but if you turn around, you're good, right? The Flog Pyro is annoying, but at least he doesn't have Air Blast, right? What I present before you today is the only weapon I truly detest in Team Fortress 2, the Vaccinator. Damn you to hell, Pyske. You are the Oppenheimer of Team Fortress 2. So maybe you've noticed I'm only saying the Vaccinator for Medic. That's because the other 2 slots are so heavily meta'd that you already know what we're putting in there. The Crossbow and the Uber Saw. I'll go over these 2 real quickly because I'm kind of sure that you probably know what they do. But the Crossbow can heal from a long range, and it's honestly one of the clutchest weapons in the game. I love the Crossbow. It also can do a lot of damage. The Uber Saw is just the best melee by far for Medic. I've earned a bunch of respect for the Bust, but the Uber Saw is just, it clears so obviously. Now that those 2 are out of the way, let's take a look at the Vaccinator. They made this weapon as complicated and convoluted as possible. So I'm just going to hit some of the big points here. I'm pretty sure there's like an hour and 15-minute video on the Vaccinator on YouTube. You can watch that, I guess, if you really want to know, but here's what I know about the Vaccinator. The Vaccinator can build and store 4 Uber charges that will grant the target and healer 75% resistance to one of the 3 damage types: Explosive, Fire, and Bullet. Vaccinator Ubers will also ignore bonus critical damage. The medic chooses which type of resistance they want by cycling through the 3 using the R button. Both the medic and target will receive 10% resistance to whichever type damage the Vaccinator is currently set to prior to Uber. Once the medic pops Uber, a shield will appear around the healer and target that lasts for 2.5 seconds. Even if the medic heals another target, the shield will remain for the full 2.5 seconds on the Uber target. The medic can also stack Ubers, meaning putting on an additional resistance for the cost of one of their 4 Uber charges. That means that one target could have all 3 resistances on at the same time. The Uber charge build rate is faster than the regular medigun when healing injured players, but is much slower when healing players who are at 100% health or above. Finally, one stat that you're not going to see on the blue and red text: as long as you don't have 4 Uber charges stored, which you never should playing as the Vaccinator will always be building Uber charge. Alright, so that's a bunch of bullshit, I know. But what does that mean in game? There's a lot of ways I could state this, but being a D1 Vaccinator hater, I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. The Vaccinator is capable of preventing whoever the medic wants from playing the game. If you are playing Demo Man and a Vaccinator pops the explosion resistance, you can literally do nothing. If you hit all 4 pipes and perfectly detonate all 8 sticky bombs, you could do 420 damage. That's not enough to kill a fully overhealed heavy. Pyro gets its flamethrower taken away, Soldier gets his rockets taken away from him, and I guess if you have a shotgun, then you could switch to that, but that's not the way these classes do a bulk of their damage. Sniper can't headshot you, Scout can't meat shot you, Heavy can't mow you down, a level 3 Sentry can give them problems admittedly, and the Spy can still backstab them. But do you really want your fate to be in the hands of a 1-hour Turtling Engineer, or the Weeb Spy trying to trick stab the 1-hour Pyro? To sum it up, a Vaccinator Medic is an absolute bastard to fight against. The Vaccinator defies the rules of TF2, unlike any Medigun, and possibly any other weapon in the game. It's kind of like that kid on the playground that would pull out a gun when you would play rock, paper, scissors, shoot. The little punk is just changing the rules of the game, goddammit. And I've seen many people try and defend this weapon, saying things like, well, if you just use teamwork and coordination to take down the Vax combo, you would be fine. To that, all I can say is 2 things. The amount of teamwork and coordination you have to put in to take down the Vaccinator combo is much, much higher than the teamwork and coordination that the Vax combo has to put in to ruin your game. Also, teamwork in a TF2 pub? Is this the first day you're playing this game? Get real, man. Here's another classic, another absolute classic Vaccinator defense. You can just melee me. The Vaccinator can't block melee damage. Golden. That's truly brilliant right there. Have you ever tried to walk up to a fully revved heavy with your melee? Good luck. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Oh, this is a good one. The Vaccinator takes more skill than regular mediguns. This one always brings a smile to my face. It's like, sure, wiping your ass after you're done taking a shit takes more skill than not doing it, but how much more skill are we talking here? All you have to do is press R, and a third of the guns in the game are turned into Nerf guns. I don't know, man. Whenever I see someone switch to the Vaccinator, all I can think is, do you really want to win that bad? And truly, my heart goes out to all the new players who don't understand how it works. A bubble will just appear, and suddenly, they're doing 25% of the damage they used to be doing. You can call me a coper, or mad, all you want. The Vaccinator is Team Fortress 2's most wanted casual crook, for crimes of being cringe in a no cringe zone, and theft of enjoyment of a casual pub. But anyways, 3 videos, 9 crooks, and a lot of new viewers. Maybe I'll do an honorable mentions. Let me know if there are any casual crooks that I missed. But that's all I got. If you haven't seen the other 2 casual crook videos, you can watch them here. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you later.